Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a review of Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. This story follows a group of friends who recently lost one of their very close friends in a very mysterious accident that was ruled as suicide, but they are convinced it wasn't actually suicide. So they're all hanging out one night and decide to go to a concert. On the way back from that concert, they get into a close call with a truck on the road. They kind of swerve out of the way, are pretty shaken up by almost getting into a car wreck, go back to one of the friends' homes, hang out for the rest of the night until they get a knock on the door from an old man. And this old man tells them that they are all dead and that they did indeed get into that car accident that they thought they had missed earlier that night. So now that they find out they are all dead, they also find out they are in this thing called a Neverworld. And so this Neverworld is kind of like a purgatory where they're going to be stuck in the same day over and over and over again, the last day of their lives, until they can all decide on one person who's going to survive from their group and come back to life, and the rest of them are going to pass on to death. So, that was a long summary, but here we are. So first of all, what I really like to talk about with this story is I personally really enjoy themes of purgatory. I love the trope in books about repeating the same day over and over again. I personally love that in my books. If you do not like that in your books, if you do not like the trope of repeating the same day over and over, and you feel it gets very repetitive, this is not going to be the book for you. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first thing. If you're still watching and you do like that trope, I'm going to say that the first thing I noticed with this book is how strong of a start it had. It hooks you in right away. All of this action and what I just described to you happens in the first chapter of the book, so you're instantly hooked. And the minute that you hear of that old man knocking at their door, I could not put this book down. It was extremely fast-paced, in my opinion. But I will say where it could slow down for some readers is once we start with the characters experiencing the same day over and over again. We do have a long period of the book that's spent kind of examining how each different friend in that group handles that and what they do with that life. So that does start to drag just a little bit. I personally enjoyed that part of the story, but I can see some readers not really liking how much that may drag. They could find it repetitive, but again, I liked it because I like that trope. The other thing that this book has that makes it pretty unique is it not only has this kind of purgatory theme to it, but usually when there is a purgatory in a story, it means that our characters have unfinished business, right? They're stuck in this kind of in-between state because they feel like there's something that they still need to do before they can pass on restfully to death. And in this story, that is figuring out the mystery of their friend's death. So right at the beginning of the story, we find out that, one of their friends had died, and they decide to take it upon themselves to use their day that keeps repeating over and over again to find out what happened to him and determine whether or not it truly was a suicide, but they're convinced it wasn't, or if it was a murder or an accident. And you find that each of the characters are kind of hiding something. So it's not only them trying to figure out this murder, but it's also them kind of trying to figure out each other and each other's secrets, which I really found very interesting. So this was the task that our characters had to complete in order for them to pass on to either life, if they were voted to live, or death. I also really enjoyed the creativity that went into creating this Neverworld, or this purgatory. The author describes it as at one point as being kind of a mashup of all of the different friends in that group and like their lives or their interests or hobbies, and kind of somehow incorporating that into this reality that's now called the Neverworld. So I feel like the best way to explain this is with an example. The best example I have is our main character. She feels like she's hiding this secret. And so what she brings into the Neverworld is a slow, like, rotting of things, because she feels like this secret is eating away at her. And so you'll notice that there are these details in the Neverworld where she'll notice, you know, the walls are starting to mold, or things are starting to rot away, plants are starting to die. And it's because she has this kind of secret that she's feeling like she's holding inside and is eating away at her. So I thought that was really creative, kind of putting a piece of each character into creating this reality of the Neverworld. The last thing I'm going to say about the plot is towards the end, we do get a really interesting twist in our story once we kind of get to that ending and the climax. However, the twist doesn't change anything about the overall story or plot. Like, if the twist wasn't there, nothing would be different. So in a way, even though it surprised me, it didn't really impress me, if that makes sense, because there was nothing of consequence about that twist. It could have just been totally removed and nothing would have changed in this book. So take that as you will. Overall, I thought the plot was really strong, but I love the trope of repeating days, and I love books that focus on topics like purgatory. So diving into the characters now, I actually found the only likable character in this book was our main character, Beatrice. She was definitely more of the quiet and observant friend, the do-gooder, and I really liked her, but the rest of her friends I found very unlikable, which was such a shame because we spend so much time with these characters in this book. But I felt like there was so much conflict between our characters from the very beginning of the book all the way until the end. They're always in conflict about something, and therefore you didn't see a whole lot of chemistry between this group of friends. Like, many times throughout reading this book, I kept asking myself, why are these people even friends? They don't seem to get along at all. They don't seem to really share any interests. They don't seem to actually know anything about each other. I found it very odd. So I found that the characters in this book were definitely lacking, besides the main character. I did like her. So overall, I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved the plot and how fast-paced it was. I couldn't put it down. It's a fast read. So if you love the themes of purgatory and you like books that kind of show a day that repeats itself and how characters react to that situation differently, then I would highly recommend this book to you. If you don't like those tropes or themes, this may not be the book for you, especially if you like more character-driven novels. These characters, I personally had a really hard time connecting with, so I would not read this book for characters. I would read this book solely for its plot, because that's what was interesting to me about this book. So if you like plot-driven books, this may be for you. If you like character-driven, may not. What did you think of this book? Have any of you read it? Do you agree with some of the things I've said? Do you disagree? Leave some comments down below letting me know if you have read the book, what you thought of it, and if you haven't read it, are you interested in picking it up? Does this sound like something you would really like? Hopefully this review helped you decide whether or not you want to pick up this book. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and sometimes more if I have more reviews to release. So thank you so much for watching today. Happy reading, and until next time, bye!